Okay.
So first of all, thank you all for coming. This is our first Athens Digital Design Meetup, and me and Konstantinos are very excited about this. We both love design, and that motivates us to bring this meetup back to life. I think that we are very lucky that we have a third speaker today, Debbie Levitt. It's always a pleasure to see her and talk with her. So thank you, Debbie, and welcome to our meetup. Before we start, please make sure you are muted. Feel free to use the chat for submitting your questions, and we will answer them at the end of this meetup. We will have around 30 minutes at the end just to answer your questions. And we will start with Konstantinos and the perfect side of our conversation. So, Konstantinos, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Just a moment to share my... So, do you get the sharing? Is everything okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, hello all. Allow also me to thank you for being here with us tonight and for your time. It is my first time as a meetup speaker, and I would really love your feedback by the end of my talk. My name is Konstantinos, as you have probably seen already in my slide, and I'm a UI UX designer. I started off as an illustrator and developed a diversified skill set along the way. So, done is better than perfect. Done is better than perfect, for me, is a mantra that states that you must not spend ages finishing the details of the things that you do. Finish it, evaluate, learn what it works and what doesn't, and go to create something better with the knowledge that you have gained, which is seems logical. The thing is that I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned because many people badly mistake that done is the same as it's the same thing as whatever it's done, and this can easily lead us to very big mistakes because it is something completely different. My concern is that tight deadlines and client expectations, because generally the clients don't understand what we're doing, push us to go to a direction that is whatever, okay, whatever it's done, it's finished, let's go to the next one. And this way can easily lead us to city outcomes. And the city outcomes is something that we tend to recognize in so many projects along the internet and in things that we as designer, because it is also our job, it is very easy to understand that it is a city. In fact, now that I'm speaking, I remember a lot of groups in Facebook and Pinterest, Instagram, Dribble that present designs like a great design, but in truth, it's just themes, just copy-paste among themselves. And okay, I understand that it's a part of a learning process, but done also puts someone to think, you know, you have to you have to deliver something, but whatever it's done, it's something completely different. In fact, I tend to recall that in my most successful projects, I have not followed the done is better than perfect mantra. In fact, I did exactly the opposite. I tried to push myself, I tried to push limits, I tried to find resources, to find the time, to find whatever I could in order to produce the best possible result. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that done is better than perfect is wrong. You know what? It is what I feel is that this mantra makes us lose the scope, because we are juggling. I think that we designers are juggling. I'm juggling between business, clients, and resources. Design for me is trying to solve problems inside the context. And designers, while we are doing that, we also need constantly to deal with situations that comes from the pressures and the pressures that originate from resources that are put upon us. And this can lead generally to designs that when we go back and evaluate them, we think that we could do much better if we had the time to produce something better. So the time is of essence here. And the time that can help us iterate more on the outcome of our work, to share our work with people that we trust them and get their feedback, to share our work with the customers and get their feedback and produce something better. In the tight deadline schedule, we constantly are not able to do something like that. So yes, pressure. On the other hand, one can argue that everyone has time pressures. Let me tell you a story at this point. A few years back, I met one of my personal heroes, comic heroes. He's Frank Miller. He's a comic designer. He's much more than a comic designer. He's the man behind Batman: The Dark Knight. For those of you that do not know him, Batman: The Dark Knight, Sin City, Daredevil. He has done many things. And I met him in a Comic-Con, and we're having this chat. And I told him, how do you feel about the deadlines? And he told me that if it weren't for the deadlines, we'd still be drawing the first panel of the first comic. So the deadlines and the context that the deadlines put us also can be elevated. So in terms of done is better than perfect, for me, it is not done better than perfect. It is, it depends on the situation you find yourself into. Because done is better than perfect does not mean whatever, it's done, at least for me. So when I'm learning, I usually have this approach. I do again and again and again and again. Because by doing, I feel that by the repetition you learn new things. So when I follow this strategy, it has to do with the purpose of the design, who is it for, and the course, and of course the time I have in my disposal, the resources I was telling you. I usually use this approach, to be honest with you, when I'm learning new things. In my job, I use this approach when I have extremely tight schedule. I have to deliver, and yes, I make compromises. And this is something I'm not feeling well with. I'm not feeling well with making compromises with my work. But I know that I cannot simply spend too much time. Also done is better than perfect. For me, I feel that it's a great opportunity for every designer to skip the creative block. I have to tell you that when I feel that I cannot deliver something, I start doing it before actually thinking what I'm doing. And I constantly reject things. By rejecting irrelevant designs, irrelevant, quoting Paul Randall, meaning not good designs, then I come up to the things that are not seated. So if I, on my one hand, I know which is seat, okay, which is not good, which is irrelevant, and on the other hand, I know which is the perfect part, I know where to go, okay. So I use the seat and the constant quick iterations of done better than perfect to fast improve my initial design concept. This is what I do, and I really would like feedback on that from designers who are among with us and have more experience in the matter. So when I don't have much time, when I want to break my creative block, when I want to learn something new, I use the done better than perfect. Oh, let me tell you a story at this point. You know, I don't know if you heard it, this one. It's an old saying that there was a teacher that split the class in two. It was a pottery class. So in one half of the class, he asked the students to create a lot of pots, making pots. Doesn't matter if the pots were good or were not, but just make a lot of pots, constantly making pots. On the other half, he asked the other half of the class to make one perfect pot. So he let them do that. It was about after 1 month that he gathered them, and then they asked both groups to deliver what they could accomplish. So he asked the initial team that created many pots to deliver their version of the perfect pot. And he asked the team that was that gave them the instructions to create the perfect pot initially to deliver their version. You know who did the best perfect pot? The team that did the done. So done is great for learning. Done is great for improving oneself skills, and done is great, especially if you are new on the things that related to design. But when I am in the business, when I have to deliver an actual project, I always try to go the extra mile. I always try to push myself further. I always try to get as much information I can. I go to my lead and I ask her things. I go to a friend of mine and trusted friends, and I'm giving them some wireframes, and I'm telling him, yeah, tell me here, what should I do better? So I improve myself. I find time. Okay, I find time at the night, which is not healthy. Okay, I know it's not healthy, but we have to find time, because I think that in the end of the day, it's the extra effort that brings rewards, and it's the extra effort that brings recognizability to all our work. So no, done is not better than perfect for me on how the saying goes. I think it's the small level of detail that creates impact, and it is very important on how our work will be received, because it's this extra effort, that extra hour in the late night at the job, that makes every difference counts. And every designer, I think can empathize on me. Every designer that has spent a night above his computer and tried to find a better solution on what he was already doing, I think he can empathize with what I'm justifying now. So for me, no, it's not done if I sip seed. No, it's not done, because you know what? I think that seeds, well, we have a saying in Greece, the seeds are never stayed in the bottom of the ocean. They usually tend to float. So the clients will never understand that if they hire you 4 years down the line, they will hire a better designer. If you deliver seeds, I think the past will come and hunt you. So what we have to do, I think, okay, it's to learn fast, really faster than anyone else, and deliver the best possible project you can deliver. Because if the designer, if the clients put you in a mindset, put you a label that they think that you do a crappy job, they will not give you the opportunity to work with you again. Consider that. If you have 4 designers, okay, 5 designers, and you know that one of them is doing the extra effort, constantly making the extra effort, constantly being a little better than the other, this little better tends to increase over time. So with whom would you like to partner with? Okay, it's easy, the answer. Okay, because this little extra effort will get him each time better than all the others. So he will have a better step. And no, I don't think that perfect is an actual thing that a designer can achieve, especially in the first trying. I don't know anyone, and not only a designer, that can claim that he have achieved perfection on his first try. Okay, with the exception of Lena, but that's a joke. But honestly, I think that no one has ever done that. In fact, I think today I added in the calendar an event that Lena added. It was about the mistakes. It's from, I think it's an event that will come up. And I think it would be great also to see that, because we learn from our mistakes. And I don't think that perfection is being achievable at first try, at least. And for me, no work is ever perfect. No work is ever perfect. But at least if you cannot have perfection in your work, if I cannot have perfection in my work, at least I try to be original. I'm trying not being a copy. And it's very difficult. It is very challenging. But this, I think, can give a designer a stigma, being different from the others. And so if you're asking me, I think it's not a dilemma between which is better or perfect, but being always the best, no matter what. This is what I think. And stay away from whatever it's done approach. The whatever it's done approach for me belongs to a clerk somewhere that his job does not contribute to the culture of us, because we as designers contribute to the overall culture of the human race, okay, of all of us. So this is in short what I want to say. This was my concern. I would really like to know how you feel about it. If you have ever made compromises that affect the project that you could be proud of, but maybe you are not, because you didn't have the time to make it better. I have a lot. And I have a lot of things also to say about that, but my time is finishing. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my my first talk in a meetup.
Thank you, Konstantinos. I will say it. Forgive me for saying it, but I think it will add a nice addition to your talk. I know that Konstantinos have changed his slides for this presentation, because I think he was fighting for the perfect presentation for us to have. So what's your experience of this one?
It's not perfect. But I think it's not whatever it's done.
Okay. We have some questions, but I will leave it for afterwards, and continue with my presentation so that we have time for Debbie's too. Let me prepare myself for the done. Are you seeing my slides? Nice. So let me open. I'm not sure if I want to see the chat while I'm talking. I'm not sure what you will add, but I will have it open. So thank you, Konstantinos, for your presentation. I think you raised some important issues to this matter, and we'll continue talking about this after our presentations. For those who don't know me, I'm Lena Lekkou. I'm head of web department in SAE Athens. I work as a designer from 2009, and I switched from various disciplines throughout the years. Now my main focus is on user-centered design, and I'm trying to teach this important subject to web students. This presentation that I have prepared for you is more like a self-exploration for me, to me as a designer, and most of all as a creative person. I'm going to share you my thoughts and my concerns about productivity, and we'll see if I feel productive or not during my work. And I hope you may also have the same feelings and find some insights for your own workflow. So to get started, I already said about feelings. We as designers, we have feelings, right? Positive and negative feelings. Everyone in the world, every designer in the world, maybe sometimes are feeling disappointed or stressed during their work day. There are a lot of days we are feeling less and less creative. Our work is full of emails, meetings, deadlines, documents, Excel sheets, and other boring things that we have to do, even if we only just want to design things. Our deadlines fall back, our clients are furious sometimes. We seek for ourselves time for our hobbies, time to learn new things, or even to get a little bored. But there is no time for that, even on a Sunday afternoon. I know for sure because we have talked with Konstantinos that we both have some Sundays working and not get rest. And with that feelings in mind, we also have rumors about us, rumors that say negative things about the designers, that say that we are not organized enough, that we don't have project management skills, that we don't know when a project is over, and that we keep revising that logo from the previous week. They also say that we are never happy with the designs we deliver, that we keep finding flaws to our designs, and that we can't be as productive as needed to the company. Some other rumors say that we are not doing a real job, but we are just moving shapes around. So we feel disappointed, underestimated, that our skills and our design knowledge doesn't really matter. So what we can do about it? Is this a solution to just forget our design process and produce new UIs every minute, or just dump designers and make a robot unicorn that speed UIs with the use of machine learning? I know I'm a bit dramatic right now, but no, this is not the solution. And I'm not going to continue talking about whose blame is all this negative situation. This presentation is just my need to explore what we can do and how can be more productive and change those rumors someday. So let's explore what is the real problem that we are facing. As Dave Crenshaw is saying to his productivity courses that I totally suggest to watch, is that what we are doing is not multitasking, but the truth is that what we do is switch tasking. We are just switching back and forth rapidly between tasks. And this is, I find it very insightful and so true that that's why I'm sharing it with you. We are just moving around, lose focus, or we are doing this to our co-workers, to ourselves. We don't finish the job, but just postpone it or change our priorities every single day. Everything is urgent, everything is important, and this is very difficult to handle on our daily job. So the problems that comes from this switch tasking comes to these 4 categories. First of all, the amount of time we need to complete the task. We need time when we switch between tasks. Our brain needs time to get back on it and focus. Sometimes the switch between these tasks comes from someone else, our bosses, our supervisor, someone that is telling us what to do. I'm sure that you all know what I'm talking about. Someone saying that you have to stop what you're doing because something more urgent has to be done. In addition to that, when we switch between tasks, we lose our focus, and it's more likely to make mistakes, to do shitty things, like Konstantinos was saying, to do something in a hurry and lose quality. And I know that as designers, we love quality. We love to make the perfect design. We even don't have time for revisions or getting the right feedback, and just lose interest in the project after all. And then we are just the bad designers again that deliver poor design. And all this make our lives more stressful, and we lose the mood for work and don't deliver what we have to deliver. This is probably the time when we don't usually answering our calls or emails because we are feeling very disappointed. So let's see, apart from this switch tasking, and before searching the solution to this problem, I want to explore a little bit the definition of done. When our jobs, our projects are done, and is it really done? How I see it is that our projects are alive and don't really finish. That's a very important realization, that we can't just cross out from our to-do list the website that we just finished or the logo that we have designed. As long as there are people using our designs, we should be out there listening to their needs and keep improving our work. So that's the first phase of realization, that in the long term, we are on this endless loop that we are keep designing in our projects. In the second phase, we have to search for the little details that we can get through every day to our work. These details can be short-lived or can be reborn again someday, but there are things that can live on our to-do list and then cross out and feel motivated and productive. So let's rename them our mini daily goals so that we can have and feel accomplished at the end of the day. And now we can move on to the solution to this problem. Oh, the good old design thinking. So yes, as I see it, we can use this methodology to our workflow and to our job. We are very fortunate to have already this tool as a designer in order to redefine our work routines and get more productive. So borrowing the design thinking loop, I think that in the first place, we can empathize. We keep talking about user-centered design. So where's you as a human in this process in your work? We have to understand ourselves, our needs, our goals, and what we want to accomplish in your life. And after that, we have to define, capture, and recognize that you are in control. Look at your workspace and your daily routines. Make a detailed record of all the things you do during your day. Identify behaviors or factors that are against your productivity so that you can identify the hidden patterns and can find a solution to this. Then we can start to ideate. Think of more creative solutions that fits you, that motivates you, and will create a huge impact in your life. Change your workspace, find new interesting daily routines, and get ready to make a change. And prototype, as we say in our job. Organize, put things where it belongs, write down every little goal you have for the day, and start designing your workflow from scratch. And finally, you have to test it. So put all these ideas to test, practice it, and see if that fits you, or you have to revise again, reflect to this experience, and go back to step one and design again your process. So it's again a loop that we have to do in order to make our lives and our productive, our work more productive. And I have a to-do list for the end. Something that I have already, me as a designer, want to accomplish more in the future. So let's see what we can do. First of all, we have to accept that there will be always things to do. We will never reach this done idea that we are talking about. Always carry a notebook and write everything, every idea that you have, They say that handwritten notes are more easy for our brains to process. Stay focused and limit interruptions. I know that we get interruptions from everywhere, and that's something that we have to limit when we are working. Put time on your calendar for strategic thinking. This is a very important goal for everyone. We have to let yourself think and breathe for some moments so that we can lead to more productive insights. And make various to-do lists. That's another important thing to do. We have to separate long-term goals from short-term goals and break them into measurable steps that we can manage every single day. Another important thing is something that they are called Einstein window. It's the 2 or 4 hours in our day that our brain functions at its highest level. So it's very important to find this mental peak and protect it. So spend some time to identify this time when that window happens for you, and don't put anything else but just protect it and work on this hour. Prioritize your projects and organize every little detail with the tag minimum requirement, maximum requirement, or nice to have, because we tend to skip some of the maximum or minimum requirements and go to the nice to have because we like them. So we have to prioritize again all our projects from this mindset. I'm sorry, I'm a bit anxious for my English. So plan your next day before you sleep, because it's very important. We tend to skip this and trying to sleep, but all our thoughts are it's a nightmare when you didn't have organized before, because you are thinking for the next day. So plan your next day before you sleep. Instead of big deadlines, think about smaller milestones that you can, it's more manageable to reach, and then go for the big deadlines. Automation is very important, and we have many modern digital tools that we can use, and we can experiment with this. And lastly, document your work and track your time. This is very important because you can have it for future references and personal evaluation, so you can go back and iterate your process and design it again. And lastly, what I want to share and what was the scope of this presentation is for everyone, for every designer, to go search again your process and find a way that you will feel truly productive, and find a way to have your task, your full attention. Prioritization, as I say, self-exploration, find your way through this, and record every single habit that you have so that you can go and reflect and redesign it, so that we can, let's start new and produce our best work as designers by focusing deeply as human beings, because we are human beings after all. So thank you for your time. I think I was a bit early, but that gives me time to talk more with you at the end. So Debbie, do you want to disagree with us or agree? I'm not sure what you are going to do.
That's right. You have no idea. Woo-hoo-hoo.
That's the point.
Yeah. Oh, and you got me, because I have like 2 million slides on why I don't like design thinking, but I don't have any of them in tonight's presentation. So I took a completely different, you guys did a great job, and you had really interesting angles. I took a completely different angle of what are some things we can say at our jobs when our jobs try to tell us done is better than perfect? So I think you guys were thinking about like your conversation with yourself and how you judge your own work. And I took the angle more of, what if someone at your job tries to rush your work because they think done is better than perfect? So I took a little bit more of a corporate or business job angle with my slides. So
Nice.
I guess I will share my slides and go for it. I am also not going to look at the chat. Well, excuse me. Well, I've been dying from spring allergies. Are you guys having spring allergies? I will share my screen and let's find it. Okay, so you guys see a Twitter account and LinkedIn. All right, so I'm going to jump in, and I've got about it probably will last about 20 minutes, so hopefully you won't cut me off at the end. Hi, everybody. I'm Debbie Levitt. And first of all, huge thank you to Mr. K and Ms. Lena for not only inviting me, but for speaking English, because this was originally not going to be in English and they changed just for me. So huge, huge thanks, because I don't speak Greek. So thank you very much. I'm Debbie Levitt. My company is called Delta CX, as you can see all over the screen. And I've been working as a UX specialist and strategist since the mid-90s. I am not an artist, so I don't come from a background of design. I have a degree in music. And so I am kind of your UX psychology, more specialized, purist, crazy person. So what else can I tell you? People like to call me Mary Poppins because I fly in, fix everything, sing a few songs, and fly away to where I'm needed next. I lived many years in the San Francisco area, but now I moved to Sardinia in Italy. So again, I hope everybody will come visit next year when it's safe. And a special thanks to Mariam for keeping her clothes on. Yes, you're welcome. So if you guys want to catch up with me, you can find me on LinkedIn. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll be going live tonight with another, I live stream about 3 times a week. So if you think you want to hear this voice again, it's available. And you'll see this little camera coming up on my slides. And that's something I use when I'm doing live talks, because that tells people my slides have stopped animating. And if they want to take a picture, it's a good time to take a picture. I also will be spraying my throat a lot because of spring allergies. So please excuse me. It's propolis. I'm going to talk about done versus perfect from the perspective of how can we improve what's going on at a lot of our jobs where they rush us to get done and don't care if it's any good at all. So I want to start by introducing you to my model that I call the 4 horsemen of bad UX, registered trademark. And they are frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction. And we want to make sure that people never feel any of these. We look for these when we're architecting and designing. We look for these when we're testing. We look for these in competitors' products. So this is a great model that I think everybody can use, because it turns what's good UX, what's bad UX, into a more specific conversation about the things that our customers experience when things are going badly. They're experiencing frustration, confusion, disappointment, and distraction. And of course, that would make what we're building low quality or poor quality, or something that shouldn't be done, and something that isn't perfect, and something we probably have to fix later. Let's see, next slide, me. And I want to talk quickly about Six Sigma, which I know people are like, Six Sigma, that's my grandpa's stuff. But Six Sigma has a couple of cool ideas that I want to talk about. And the main idea I want to talk about is Six Sigma is obsessed with how perfect can we get our products to be. And they have levels of Sigma. And the way that and so what I did was I took each level and I turned it into an example. So level 1 Sigma is, what if only 31% of your stuff is good? Well, that's like 69,000 page not found errors out of 100,000 web pages. 2 Sigma would be, you get it right 69% or so of the time. So only 30,000 scoops of ice cream have rat hairs in them. What about 3 Sigma? Well, that would be 93% of your stuff is good or not broken or not flawed or not rushed. Well, that's only 6,000 personal health documents lost somewhere in a hospital system. 4 Sigma, we're getting closer to perfect. 621 hacking attempts are successful. Ouch. 5 Sigma, almost looking more and more perfect. 23 parachutes don't work out of every 100,000. Ouch, that's going to hurt. That's going to be bad for our company. That's going to make the news. And then finally, the idea is you're shooting for 6 Sigma. You're aiming for 6 Sigma, which would be 1 out of every 100,000 things, objects, experiences, moments in your app goes badly. So the idea in 6 Sigma is we know you can never be completely perfect, but you're always trying to improve your internal processes, always trying to improve what you can deliver to customers so that you're getting closer and closer to perfect. Even though you can never totally be perfect. And this is where I also want to talk about lean, because lean is another thing where people have the wrong definition of it. So the original definition of lean that came from Toyota was cutting waste that we don't need. And that, of course, would hopefully bring us closer to more perfection where we don't have defects and waste. So sometimes people think that lean is, let's just skimp on things, let's just go really fast. But it's really about finding things in our internal processes or things we're giving to our customers that waste time, waste thinking, waste brain power, waste money, waste materials, waste people. My favorite one on this list is non-utilized talent. Have you ever had a job where they didn't understand what you did and they gave you, just to quote Konstantinos, shitty work? I never say that in a talk. I'm not allowed. But yeah, and that is the lean sin of a non-utilized or underutilized talent. If you want to cut waste, then when great people like you get a job, we are supposed to be utilized, which sounds a little clinical, but utilized for the talents and skills that we bring. So lean is really about that. It is not about this crap that I see all the time, which says, well, lean is just do the least you can and get to the next thing. That will get you done, but it definitely won't get you anywhere near perfect, and your ice cream will be full of rat hairs. So I also want to talk about, I think a lot about agile and businesses being agile, because agile is a mess. And agile is something where nobody seems to know what it really is or means. And so everyone's fighting. And this is where I actually wanted to run a poll with you guys, but I forgot to set that up. So give me 1 second to log into my polling system. Get out your laptops or phones. I'm going to send you to a poll. It's got 1 question. So let me put that up on the screen and present. Okay, let me see if I can slide this over to the other screen. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Slide, 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 slide. Okay, hopefully you guys are seeing this. So this is a menti.com poll. So go to menti.com and use the code 195433. I hope you guys are seeing that. And basically, I want you guys to rate these things on this scale, where a score of 1 on the far left is, you know what, just get it done. It's okay to just do this, whatever. Whereas we would want to aim for perfection. So looking at these things, please vote for each of these. Do you want to just see this get done, or do you want to see somebody aiming for perfection? You guys can see the poll, right? Yes, Lena, can people see the poll? Okay. So hopefully you guys can log in from your phone, or you can use a laptop window. But just go to menti.com and use 195433 and vote on this stuff. And let's see if we want to just get it done. Well, that's 5 of you. Come on. I know there's like 30-something people here. Let's get a few more votes. Even though it's not qualitative research, it's quantitative research. We'll allow it for today. So somebody there was like, just fix my car. I don't care if you got it right. Just fix, just call it fixed and give me my car back. Somebody voted for that. I want to know you. Well, remember, this is all anonymous, so I don't know who's voted for what. But as you can see, there aren't a lot of things in life where we are okay with just get it done. We really do expect quality in so much of what we do. So that poll is still open. You guys can keep voting if you want. We can check back on it later. But you see my slides again, right? Slides? Yes? Okay, great. So I tend to see Agile and Scrum coaches saying work just needs to be done. And since getting it done is better than not getting it done, it doesn't matter who does it as long as it's done. And that can sound inspirational, but let's think about possible outcomes. Is it appropriate to assume that everybody on the team or on the project has the talent, skill, and personality to do every job? If the customer's experience is bad or the product sucks, can we still congratulate ourselves for getting work done? We have to shift away from faster, 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 just get it done, and get back to caring about quality. We've got to be leaner by recognizing defects, including UX defects, earlier and improving them before engineers are coding. So let's save some time, because when you're considering the concept that you as UX designers are working on, would the customer leave this 5 stars? If not, and we know this now before it's even been coded, how do we improve it now before the 4 horsemen of bad UX show up? I also see this kind of thing online, and this actually came from an agile source, not from a UX or design source. And I'm for the concept of the T-shape, where you're very strong in one area, and then you have some subspecialties where you're also good at them, but maybe it's not your key specialty. But I see things like this used at companies to say, well, you know, the engineers are good enough at UX, right? Who's crying right now? Let me see if I can open up the grid. Who's crying right now? Engineers are good. Robot, cry for me. Petros Robot, come on. You know, oh, come on. The QA people, they're good enough at UX. They'll just sketch some screens. And what I want to get into our company's brains, if they have one, is the only person who should determine if someone is good enough is the expert in that domain. So if we want to know if someone is good enough to pick up some DevOps work, I want the DevOps person to decide that. If we want to know if someone is good enough to do some UX, I want the UX expert to decide that. Because if it's people over process, which agile coaches love to say, then we need to care about which people are doing which elements of the process. So that means the only person who decides if something is done is the domain expert. I will decide if the UX or CX is done or good enough. Engineers should not decide when the UX is done. We've got to improve our quality. And again, I looked up the Agile's definition of done, and the answer was done is when something is coded to standards, reviewed, implemented, tested, integrated, and documented. So that just means we did something we were supposed to do. You checked it off the list and it's done. But remember that Agile is pretty much 100% about engineers. And so for what they believe is done, or what their standards are, or what they believe is quality software, may not be the same things that we're looking for. So they might be looking mostly for bug-free, but we know the customer needs a lot more than did it break. They need so much more. They need a product that's going to understand them, solve their problems, help them accomplish their tasks, meet or exceed their needs. And where's that in Agile's definition of quality? Where's that in Agile's definition of done? It's not there. So we need us and our managers at work to be working with the engineers and the Agile coaches to make sure there is an understanding of what quality means in UX and what done or almost perfect should mean. because this is like deciding that your haircut got done as long as someone made some of your hair shorter. That would cross your haircut off the list. Done. Here's some other things that aren't just done, that we can't just check off a list and say are done. I did the UX because I asked users questions. I asked them what they wanted. Now we're going to build that. Meanwhile, you're crying in the background. You know, hey, turn on empathy. Yeah, done. Is there anybody else here other than me who can't turn off their empathy? I am so sick of this. Thank you, Mariam, for a number of things. I am so sick of hearing just create empathy. Just turn on your empathy. Can y'all look at America right now? There's empathy and there's not empathy, and we're not able to make the not empathy people any better. So can we all please admit we cannot make people have more empathy? Then thanks to you guys for the word empathy. You know, you can't just draw a wireframe and say UX is done. What'd you base that on? You guessed. Boo, you're fired. So we need to make sure there is depth and quality in our work, and where our jobs are not giving us the time or the budget for this, we've got to talk to management, we've got to fight for this, or we've got to probably work somewhere else because these jobs are sad. So this is a long slide I have, but I'll just blow through it. So aim for quality, not just done, because these are slides I'm usually giving to programmers, by the way. So you guys are fake programmers tonight. So we have to aim for quality, not just, hey, look, someone's doing work. Because we keep saying outcomes over outputs, so that means we have to raise our standards to what those outcomes are. We have to judge engineers by more than velocity. Are you guys, does this happen there where engineers are judged by velocity, which is how much they got done in what period of time? That's treating them like a robot assembly line and doesn't really look at quality. So what if we judged engineers? I mean, Agile claims customer satisfaction is our #1 goal. So why don't we judge engineers by how much we had to fix stuff later? Imagine if your job were based on that. Ouch. How about we not make engineers assembly line robots and let them be careful problem solvers? And we say it's better to be done than perfect, but it's way better to be done really well. There is a Grand Canyon between done and flawless. So to be done better, we've got to pay more attention to details. We've got to care more about customers' needs and realities, which means more research and more testing, rather than building what some stakeholder wants to build, because we are about depth and quality. Click, click. Okay, there it is. We're about depth and quality, not checking things off a list and calling them done. Because, as we just did in the poll, where would done be okay without done fantastically? Surgery, car repairs, filing your taxes? We expect quality everywhere. And I hate when I hear, if you're not embarrassed by your first version, you launched too late. Have you guys heard this cousin of this one, or is this just an American startup thing? It's a way to try to tell people, oh, you know, release that minimum viable product, because if you spend too much time on it, you spent too much time on it, you should be embarrassed by what your company releases to the public. Well, thank you, Lena, for laughing at that, because on what planet do we want to be embarrassed by something we've put out to the public? Maybe when you are a tiny startup, when Petros and I create our startup and we release crap and nobody sees it but me and him and his mom, okay, fine, maybe that was okay. But when we are a real company trying to make money, or on the stock market or things like that, it doesn't make sense. It just does not make sense. What does launching too late even mean? And when is the last time public humiliation worked really well for a company? Who looks back and goes, like, does Skype look back and go, hey, remember in 2018 when we had to completely redesign our redesign because we got it so wrong? That was great. That was tens of millions of dollars, but good times, good times. Heart. So we should be making deliberate, well-informed choices that work out well for the customer, work out well for our teams, for our products, and for our company's reputation. We shouldn't tell ourselves that if we release something people actually like, or that we can be proud of, or that marketing can plug, or sales can sell, we must have tried too hard, or we must have worked on it too long, or that's not agile, or that's not lean. We should be proud of everything we release. A few more slides. Let's see. Oh, these are a couple of lies I found people like to tell themselves. Boo! Launching early gives you a higher success rate and be first to market. Apple is like never first to market. They wait for like Samsung to do it, mess it up, make it better. And then Apple goes, okay, we're on it. And then Apple goes, oh, and by the way, we invented that. And I'm sitting there going, oh, I don't drink, but I could. You also hear perfection is perfect is the enemy of good, and all this. Oops, backwards. Again, these are stupid things we say to ourselves when we're building stuff that isn't that good. And when you hear people at work say those things, I love to say, that's what we say when we're not really doing a great job. We come up with these reasons and excuses and go, oh, well, we don't want it to be perfect. Perfect is, it's like picking on the smart kid at school. Wow, you're smart. That was a good thing. What are we doing? So I think done is better than perfect is kind of a lie, at least at the company level. And to me, it's what we call the fallacy of the false dilemma. It would be like me saying, if you don't like my presentation, you obviously hate UX. Those aren't the only two choices. So done and perfect aren't the only two choices, and we should aim for perfect. And here's someone who always reminds me to aim for perfect, and that is Joe Rohde, who is a high-level dude at Walt Disney Imagineering. Are you guys familiar with Imagineering? No. Yes, blank faces. Even the robot is not sure. Imagineering is the highly creative part of Disney Parks and Resorts, and they invent basically all of the rides and all of the lands that you're always hearing about that happen at Disney parks. And Joe Rohde is like the king of them. So follow him on Instagram. He gives like art history lessons on Instagram with these giant text things he somehow typed out. And last year on Instagram, he wrote, one should not be asking the question, how little can we get away with, but rather, how much can we afford to do to be really impressive? And he didn't say be perfect, and he didn't say hurry up and get it done, but he said, let's be really impressive. And I think that's what we could shoot for. Shoot for perfect and settle for really impressive. And on that note, that's my 20 minutes, except it was 22. Thank you for the extra time. You can find me at deltacx.com and learn all about my world, and then track me down and stalk me in other ways. And I will unshare the screen. But thanks again to everybody for including me and letting me speak English.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie.
No, thank you.
Let's see what we have.
Thank you, Maria B. Thank you, Maria B.
So I have a question for Konstantinos, and I think we can all talk about it. The first question says, but how do you know when to stop, when you have done the best you can?
Listen, I think it's a battle between you and yourself on that. And I speak for myself now. I believe that anyone who can say something different, please do. So there is no, you can never really know when to stop. I could refer to the classic UX that Jacob Nielsen did, that it was the graph of the iterations, where to stop, that after a while the iterations mean little. If you improve and improve and improve a wireframe, after some point, a design, not a wireframe, a design, whatever it is, after some point, there is a little on the things that you can do on it to improve it. But that takes into account that all the other parameters stays the same. Because let's imagine this. The first iPhone was a little thicker okay, I'm sure that Johnny Ivy did not want it to be that thick, wanted it to be smaller, but it was the technology constraint that could not allow him to be that small. So when I decided to stop, as I said, it is a thing of yourself. I stopped my presentation about 5 minutes before we start. So that's a great way to say that there is no stopping. You're constantly improving. If I take what Debbie said into my thinking, I think Debbie could tell thing on that too, on where to stop when something is done. And I think she's already preparing. Yeah. I have to tell you that I had a slide that I rejected Debbie regarding the thing that the CEO of LinkedIn told. If you're embarrassed by the first version of the product, you've launched it too late. Reid Hoffman. You know, I decided not to show it, but you did that for me, and thank you very much. Yeah. So, what do you say? When do you feel that someone should be done?
Hey, yeah, I actually thought we would all end up with some slides in common, so I'm glad we all went in some different directions. My answer for this, sorry, allergies, sometimes depends on the project and the budget and the time frame. Sometimes I am just stuck and I have to make a strategic call that this is the best I can do right now and document why it is where it is. But to me, I would try to let the customers speak for done. So if I'm doing interaction design and I do prototyping, I wore my Axure shirt today. I'm green screening myself. Okay, so anyway, I wore my Axure shirt today. They don't pay me to do that. I pay them. But so if I'm building my prototypes and I'm taking them to rounds of testing, I would know when it's done, when it finally tests well. If it's still testing poorly, to me, I have things I need to fix. Now, obviously, not every job has allowed me to fix them. Sometimes they've said, too bad, out of time, out of money, come on, we clean up a couple of things and let's just go. And so you have to make that compromise, and I always document that, because to me, I am documenting the business risk of moving forward with something that to me needed more attention. But wherever possible, I try to let the customers speak for done for now, because I agree that it's always evolving and always improving. But I would hope that some good UX or usability testing would tell me if it's good for now.
Yes, it has to do also with the stakeholders, because when you are in a table in a meeting room and you have the stakeholders and they tell you to stop, you more or less, you know your barriers, you know when to stop, you know it is about resources and resource allocation.
And that's why I document it, so that when it ends up, as you would say, shitty, I can say, hey, you know, if you had given me 2 more weeks, we could have saved the 2 months we ended up spending on fixing it.
Exactly. I will read something similar from the chat. Nowadays, even if you strive for perfection, shipping a good product has to do with team performance and not a one-man show. Let's talk about team performance. Who wants
Ladies
to?
first.
Okay,
Who,
Debbie.
what? Me.
Ladies first.
Okay. Well, in reality, there's many different ways to measure a good product. I'm thinking about CX and UX elements, but certainly there are technical elements as well. There's site performance and site speed, even though that is, you know, Google just announced that they're going to lower in search ranking slower sites and sites with pop-ups and bad UX. But of course, we see a lot more bad UX than Google will. But
and a lot more pop-ups than we used to.
oh
For some
my
reason.
gosh, I have so many slides about evil pop-ups. I have 400 slides, by the way, guys. So you only saw 16. So So yes, ultimately it is team performance because product has to come up with the roadmap and the prioritization, and UX has to come up with, you know, the experience and the flows and the layouts and whatever the heck it is, and engineering has to build it, and everybody has to come together to collaborate on each of those pieces. Though if you watch my podcast from a few nights ago, don't democratize it or work by committee, thank you. So ultimately it is team performance, and that's why I do all those slides and many more for engineers to remind them, if you've got slow database access or things like that, you're making my work look bad. So ultimately it is a team effort, and one weak link can make all of us look bad because the customer is unhappy.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Debbie's saying.
Why,
I
thanks.
think that when shipping a good product, it has to do with many things that in some cases it is even beyond your own control. You may have the absolute greatest user experience and greatest design ever, and the development team may not be able to deliver. Or maybe...
But you have to find that out early. Do not find that out late in the game.
Yes.
That is why I call for early collaboration.
Yes.
I always go straight to engineering and I say, do you have the APIs? Do you have the services or microservices? Like, what can't I build? So everybody never surprise an engineering team later with something they can't build.
Yes, exactly that. Because it is, as you say, it is a team performance. I was about to say that you need to know beforehand, you need to know your constraints. Because design, it's about delivering the greatest possible solution inside a specific context. And the context is delivered by the one aspect of it is also the constraints that are given to us as designers. For me, as a UX designer, I will speak, being a part of the team, part of a bigger team, makes me increase my skills, because I have the ability to share my initial thoughts with a trusted few individuals that will give me feedback, and I also have the option to discuss my initial thoughts even with a UI designer, if that is possible to be delivered in their design scheme, if it is possible to deliver from the developer. So this increases the possibilities of delivering a better product than being one designer alone and trying to deliver himself the best possible product. Delivering a great product, of course, has to do with the team performance. Just to conclude here, recently I think it was Envision that let out a report that was arguing about how well a designer's team performs. It's not necessarily does not necessarily has to do with the people of the team. Small teams are able to deliver sometimes much better than large teams on that. It has to do with how the team collaborates, the cooperative spirit, the status quo, things of the culture of the company. So the outcome of a product, I think, it also depicts the values and the culture that the company has. It's not only about design, in my opinion.
Exactly. So next question. Do you think designing mock-ups for a website without wireframing is a bad strategy? Ooh.
Yes.
Yes. I will start with this.
Yes, do.
I think that what I see is that designers have the tendency of looking forward to design and put all the design in a place, colors, typography, images, and they lose focus. So when they go straight to the mock-ups, they lose the experience that they have to design. They just design what I said before, just designs and forgot the experience. So I think it's a bad strategy. You have to start with drafts and maybe even on a paper, not even on a tool, just to have the user experience in mind, and then going forward to adding things to this.
I don't think, in my opinion, that has to do with how UI designers can deliver a great website. I think they can deliver, but it has to do with the iterations.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said yes. Because wireframes give you the convenience to iterate fast.
Mm-hmm.
There was I tried. It's the English that do not help me right now. Anyway, the more lo-fi you have in a wireframe, the quicker and the cheapest way it is to make iteration on it. So if you have a UI designer invest his time to deliver a great product, which will be great in terms of design, but has some usability flaws, which could be done, could be possible, and are not found beforehand in the process, that usability flaws to be fixed will take more time in a almost finished design. That's how the process is towards initially creating wireframes, creating flows, understanding the user, empathizing with it, with him. Sorry, Debbie, for that. Empathizing with the user. Okay. Empathizing with the user, understanding him, understanding the user journeys, the user stories, stuff like that before you design. So you have to do the research before you design, because research is also design. Okay, design is about bringing a solution to the table. It's not only designing the solution. If you look if you Google design in Google, okay, if you Google it and you see the translation, you see that the design is the whole process of bringing the design outcome. So before you design, you have to design, you have to invest on that. So wireframes, yes, you have to deliver them only because you have to lower the cost of the actual design process. You have to iterate fast on that. That's why I believe it's the best thing the best strategy. And I think it's best for everyone.
And not to fall in love with this design. It's a better way just to iterate your designs without having too much emotional feelings with this. Debbie, what do you want to say?
Yeah, I agree with some of what you guys have said, and the angle that I would take here is I actually do neither. I don't wireframe anymore, I don't do mock-ups, and I don't do sketches. I really do work straight into Acture because I want to see my ideas come to life. And by making a realistic, clickable, interactive prototype, not what InVision gives you, because that's not realistic, that's just, oh, what if they saw this, and then they saw this? Acture is highly, highly realistic. Yes, there's a learning curve, but I can teach you. But my point is, a sketch doesn't tell me if my idea is going to fly. The wireframe doesn't tell me if my idea is going to fly. I love building it in Acture, and I've become very fast in Acture, so I'm not slowing anything down. And then I can run through it myself and see if the 4 horsemen appear, and I can show it to some colleagues, and now I've got something. Even if I don't put the final design on it, even if it's medium fidelity, I can see it come to life. And I think something Konstantinos said is really the key here, which is whatever your style is with wireframes and mock-ups and prototypes, the real important piece here is the research. Because if you just think of yourself as a UI designer who makes mock-ups and you're not looking for your colleagues to do research, like maybe you're not strong in research, but maybe you work with me and I get you the research you need. If you are not pursuing research and deep information about customers in some way, then whatever empathy you have is not real empathy. Whatever, oh, I was keeping customers in mind, is a bit of a lie, because what do you really know about those customers if we haven't researched them? You're guessing. So to me, the weakest part of this are the people who go straight into the interaction design or the wireframes or whatever, basically guessing about users or making assumptions about customers. I think that is the bigger sin of all of this. So as for how detailed should your wireframe be, you know, that could be a process. Some people start out with a very general idea. You know, they take their process flow. If you're doing this in order, you have a process flow, which is your flow chart of, what screens and steps are people going to see in what order? And where do they have choices and branch off, and maybe they go somewhere else, or maybe a new customer does this and an old customer does this, or a cheap customer does this and the premium customer does this. You have your flow chart, and now you're bringing that to life with your interaction design. So how detailed should your wireframe be? If it works for your style, you could start with less detail and kind of sketch out these steps in general, and then keep iterating on them. See, where can I make this more efficient? Where can I make this more obvious? Where can I make this easy to learn and easy to use? So I don't want to tell anybody their style is wrong, because some people love to sketch on paper, some people want to use Figma, some people want to use something else. But I do think that learning a strong prototyping tool like Axure or Framer is important, because you really don't know how this is going to look or work until you bring it to life.
There's also one more thing I would like to say about wireframes. I don't know, I'm honest with you, I don't know how to share a screen. So I will just share this. I want to share just an image, and I don't know how can I share an image. I will just share a screen.
Share
exactly
screen and share the image.
Yeah, so I don't know if you see it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One of the on one of the training slides that I have not brought up. Wireframes, I think, is also a great way to align people, because when you are sitting in a table and in a meeting table, and each person on that table has his own agenda, each own agenda brings his or her own mind and mindset. So this is an ideal page, the same the CEO had in mind, the developer had in mind, the designer may have in mind, or the business development had in mind. If we do not create a wireframe to make an alignment of all those aspects that is relatively low cost to do it, then you can possibly understand the complications as the project goes on and on. And imagine that this is only one page, okay? It's not a big project, it's just one page, and we have 4 different options. Okay, so have I stopped sharing?
Yes.
Great. So there is also this important aspect of the wireframes for me. And in terms of how detailed the wireframe should be, this is a very nice question. This is a question that I constantly have the same talk with my lead, how detailed a wireframe should be. I think a wireframe should be so much detail as to give the functionalities of the user. If we think that the functionalities of the user, of the weightings that they must be presented to him, should be up to a level, we should follow up to that level. If we have, let's say, in a very confined space, we should, let's say we have to show something in a very confined space, and we have to show 5 different elements with 5 different weightings on that. Then maybe we should add weightings of the typeface. If not, the weighting on the typeface is irrelevant. So it has to do with how, with what you want to convey, how you want to convey the message to the next one in the chain. What is that you want to show to the user? I don't know if my English is good enough to understand what I'm trying to say, okay? So if I feel that I should draw myself in a wireframe, I will do it, okay? As long as it serves the purpose of delivering the functionalities and the usability to the next one in the chain, being a UI designer or whatever, okay? So to understand what I'm trying to say, I don't know if it is understandable.
Yes.
I think I got you. The thing that I would add to that is if you are looking for alignment across roles down to things like typeface or typeface weight, that's a shitty job and you need to leave. Because in reality, if we need to have autonomy in our domain, and if they are not letting us make decisions in our domain, if they're not letting visual designers pick the freaking typeface and its weight, if that's going to be a decision by committee, you hate that job. And you might be staying there because in this economy it's better than nothing, and you might be staying there because it's your first job since you changed careers, and I understand that. But please go dig up my podcast from a few days ago. You do not want to do this level of co-design because it teaches the other roles that we can't do anything without them. And
And
Mariam says yes.
I was not
Lena.
saying that you should put. Let me elaborate. I don't know if I have not explained myself. I'm not saying that you have to select typefaces to align people in the pages in the search thing that I did. This is a.
I'm just saying if someone is doing that. I'm not saying
No, I'm not.
I'm just saying
Of course.
if that's happening.
Yes, that is completely irrelevant. So it has to be, yes, now it has to be relevant. So a wireframe has to be relevant. So this abstract phrase may completely be an answer to the question with wireframes, the detail.
So because Debbie, okay, thank you, Konstantinos. Because Debbie has already started to talking about designers and how they can do their jobs or not, I will trying to translate what Eas has.
Oh yeah, I put
question.
it into Google Translate.
Yeah.
I apologize for Google Translate's shitty, translation. It says turnips. No, I'm kidding.
No. What Eas is trying to wants to question is how is the companies are doing with designers? Are they hearing their thoughts or their opinions? And
yes, I see. Here's what Google Translate said that he said.
And
how are companies with designers, do they listen to them, especially
exactly.
in a company that is not only for designers?
Exactly.
Is what we say valid? Because as Ms. Lena said, despite the work of a designer, many despise, hate the work of a designer. That's how Google Translate
I think it made
Can I answer in English? Do you speak English? Does he speak English? Why are you doing this to me? No, I'm kidding. Okay, it is true. Many companies, it's not that they hate designers. It starts with a lack of understanding. And sometimes when people don't understand it, they have a negative feeling about it. I know in America, you tend to hear, no, it's perfect. Your Greek is very good. Don't worry. So I know in America you tend to hear, oh, UX, they're artsy, fartsy hipsters. They're just long beard, plaid wearing hipsters, and they're artsy. And so there are negative feelings about them. So I have worked in jobs where my work was respected and appreciated, and I could make decisions because I knew my things. And then I've worked in jobs where they tried to make me an order taker. Like, oh, Debbie, can you just put a blue button here? Can you just add a checkbox? And I think we've all had those jobs. I would say that the better jobs that I've had were at agencies. I would say a lot of the corporate and business jobs are still not totally understanding UX. And of course, design thinking works against that because design thinking has helped people think, just follow five easy steps and you do what Debbie does. What do we really need Debbie for? We can empathize, think about the problem, sketch some solutions, vote for one with not asking the customers what they want, and run with that. So we've unfortunately evangelized some things that we thought were helping people think and talk about design, but they've really, I think, helped devalue us. So that is part of why I'm on fire against design thinking. I'll be speaking at the UK Tech Circus next week about design thinking is shit. But I think I named it Design Thinking Jumped the Shark, which is an American phrase.
I think
So
you will guess that I use design thinking in my slides just
I
because
saw that.
I know you disagree.
You hate
I
me.
want,
Okay.
I want to pick you and
You're
start a
poking at
conversation.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
You're someone's little sister. You're the little sister. I'm poking you.
I wanted
yeah.
to
Does
disagree.
this
When
bug
Yes.
you? I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. Um, okay, so that's a very short version of design thinking. I probably have 40 slides on why design thinking is bad, but the short version would be it oversimplifies what we do. It makes people believe that they can do these exercises. Many of the design thinking facilitators and certified people that I've met are agile coaches. So Lena is a little sister. I know her brother. See, I can tell. So I can always tell birth order. I don't know why. So I'm concerned, and I have a bunch of slides on this. If you guys ever watch my talk, Stop Evangelizing UX and What to Do Instead, I've got some of the slides in there, but mostly I'm concerned that in general, most of us are doing a good UX process. We care about research, we care about architecture, we care about design, we care about testing it, we care about the outcomes. But design thinking is kind of this accidental baby sister to design sprints. And these are all from the idea of, hey, you don't have to spend all that time on research, just get a bunch of people in the room and some sticky notes and you're going to solve all your problems. And unfortunately, we teach them they don't really need us. And as Vili's pointing out, design thinking is a term that's been around since the 60s, but it used to be meaningful. It used to mean the full arc of human-centered design. And it used to mean that people like you and me, that we had something special that we were doing in our approach that made us different than people who were thinking about engineering or thinking about marketing. We had this special thing, and someone started saying design thinking. And so it was originally heavy human-centered design, heavy psychology, heavy HCI, and a term used to try to show how we were different. But somewhere along the last few years, crap just exploded, and I feel like everything's really gone wrong since the Lean Startup book came out, because the Lean Startup misdefines lean as the least we can do to get to the next thing. And the Lean Startup book was aimed at things you can do if you don't have UX people working at your company. Because if you don't have UX people working there, then you need to do a design sprint, because you have a room full of engineers who are going, what should we code? Oh, I don't know, let's sketch some things and vote on them. So that stuff comes from all of these approaches that were designed for teams and companies where we weren't there, because when we're there, we have a process to work with a concept or an idea or a need and iterate on it and test it and know before we go public with it, which Lean Startup says, no, just get it out there and see what the public says. We say, wow, that's risky and expensive. We can test this and know what the public thinks before we waste time having engineers build crap. No, Billy, don't correct me. That's not going to make us good friends. I'm referring to both design thinking and design sprints, because as you can see, the definitions have started to converge, because design sprints is that 5-day process of where each day is that thing. And then design thinking is the same kinds of things, but these exercises and frameworks. My concern, so do companies hate us? They don't understand us. They think we just sketch pretty screens. And that's why I do warn people against just working in mock-ups, because when you just work in mock-ups, you accidentally teach your coworkers, I work in pretty screens. And that's why I love to give people more medium fidelity work before it gets the visual design, so you can see the blueprints of the house before you see the house with all of the carpets and painted walls and pictures of Mickey Mouse. So I think it's important for us to show more of our work to people that we work with. Show them the research, show them the results of the research, show them the information architecture work you did, the card sort, the tree test, your process flows. Show them all this stuff, even if they don't care, because they have to start learning that what we do is deep and scientific and based in cognitive psychology and not people sketching pretty screens. Can I just say that? Any other questions?
I have a story for you, Debbie.
Good. I will start drinking. Will I spit my water across the room? Go, oh!
Because you mentioned the post-its and everything that we are doing wrong, and we are showing that we are just doing UX and put post-its on the wall. I remember one day that you were mentioned on LinkedIn for the photos that they use. That they use photos that they have only post-its, but
yeah, I don't have post-its on my desk.
Yeah, and why don't we use photos that from the real user testing?
Hold on, you need this picture.
The day that you posted, I had to find a photo for an event that we are going to do on our college that I work, and it was very hard to find the photo that we don't have people that didn't have the consent for the photo. So right. I just have to put a photo with post-its, and it was exactly the same day that you were doing this comment, but we couldn't do anything else. Mariam is thinking, remember it because we have discussed it, but what can we do?
I forgive you. Stock photos are stock photos. I mean, the photos, that's fine, but it's I wish people understood that UX is so much more than people putting post-its on walls. I don't put post-its on walls. When I do anything like that, I do an ideation workshop where I collect ideas. I don't collect sketches. Not everyone is a visual thinker, and not everyone has imagined the exact execution of their idea. So I like to do ideation workshops, and I have everybody write their ideas, obviously after a long introduction with personas and videos and customer information. I have everybody write their idea in the form of a user story. You know, as a certain user or persona, I want this to accomplish this task. And I try to keep people thinking about the user, which is hard because people are selfish and egotistical. So I do like to collect ideas from other people. I do like to do some of those collaboration sessions, but I am not for design sprints or design thinking, because I think that these sessions and exercises accidentally teach people that they can easily do the UX and design products possibly without us. And I think it just makes us lose our value, and we already didn't have much value.
Can I add something to this? Because I really love doing, let's say, brainstorming sessions. I won't name it design thinking, design spirits, but just brainstorming sessions. I see that by using these methodologies, some people that can't broaden their minds and think something new that they can do in order to make a better experience, these exercises, sometimes they are helping them to see something different. So that's my thought on this. Sometimes
I'm for that. Just don't call it design. What if you didn't call it design thinking?
Exactly.
And you didn't call it a design sprint? Because sometimes people say to me, oh, don't say bad things about design sprints and design thinking. I'm doing my own version and it's working. And I say, well, what are you doing? And then they tell me, and I go, well, that's nothing like a design sprint or design thinking. Do that, but call it something else, because eventually design thinking will fall into the ocean. It will undo itself because it will become so meaningless, because the entire planet will have a certificate and it will be meaningless. And design sprints, I have a slide on how they are already undoing themselves. They're going to go away too, especially I have a slide I'm working on, like, remember when we used to have research and development teams, and we actually spent time making sure we were trying to build the right thing, and now we tell everybody you can innovate in 2, 3, 4, 5 days and we don't need those people anymore, and then we're putting out crap. I mean, I always ask an audience, like, what's the most innovative thing you can think of recently? And the people eventually think of an answer, but a lot of people don't think about apps and websites and things like that. They end up saying, like, oh, I heard about this medical advance, or, oh, wow, I saw this AR thing, or, but sometimes it's an AR thing, but in general, they end up telling me about medical devices. They end up telling me about some airport in Singapore or something. They tell me about something that isn't a website or an app. We're not innovating there, but worse than that, because I would be fine with us not innovating if we didn't ship garbage. We're shipping garbage, and we're so worried about, can we get everybody in a room and innovate? You can't even get everybody in a room and agree on the typeface weight. So, calm down on your innovating. Just build something good already. You guys can write in the chat, what's the most innovative thing you can think of that is relatively recent? I don't even know what to pick. What would I even pick? I used to know the answer to this. I used to have something ready to go. Like, the most innovative thing to me is, but it'd probably be something from a Disney park. And if you guys haven't been to Disney World in Florida, you'd be like, what is she talking about? What?
Yes, we have. At least I haven't.
You went to Disney in
No,
Florida?
I have not. I have not.
Oh, you have something. Tell us.
No, in terms of what? In terms of innovation, Google Glasses,
Google Glass.
Apple Glasses. That's
I
the next
remember
innovation.
the company that tried to integrate Google Glasses into a motorcycle helmet. That was a San Francisco thing. And as a motorcycle rider, I was like, no.
In which
Just no.
Sigma was that? In which Sigma was that?
Oh man, that didn't even get to Sigma, because these guys pre-sold a bunch of helmets and then went out of business.
Oh, wow.
Thanks, San Francisco. I didn't pay for one. I knew that was bad UX. I knew that taking my eyes off the road for 1 second to look at anything was dangerous. So I knew I did not want an always on display on my eye. So what else you guys got? What's innovative? See, nothing.
There are also some more questions, very interesting. In terms of that question, I ask, I think everyone these days is a designer. You go out, everybody has a point, everybody knows what is UX, everyone knows what is UI, everyone knows everything, but everyone is a designer. Sometimes they hear us, I think, sometimes not. What I was trying to say, but now the time has passed, I wanted to ask, to make a poll on that, because we are 26 participants, so it would be interesting to know if how everybody feels about how how much the designers are heard in their own companies and with their own experiences. So if
you can make a poll in Zoom, right? Oh, you don't have it here.
No. If you want a good, I don't know, Vili says, if you want a good question, Lena, because we had difference in opinions on done and agile, they want to clear up what problem solving phase is and what the solution phase is. This is, I think this could be really a topic for a meetup.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, we missed a question from Dimitris.
We missed a question from Dimitris. Sorry, it's Dimitris Kubas. Yes, it's later that.
In
Hello,
most
Mickey.
cases, there is always sacrifice between design concept and UX. How the two can cooperate so the result is also based on strong design concept and not be sacrificed.
I think, let's say that a storytelling website. I think, first of all, a total alignment of all the aspects, of all the corresponding parties should exist. I mean, in order to provide a concept beforehand, there should be a strategy, a business strategy that could allow to deliver a concept. Because if we are in a table and we are hearing about concepts, but at the other side of the table, they are not ready to receive the concepts that we may give them, whatever the UX can deliver, it's pointless. But in concept sides, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, that at least the four aspects, business, development, UX, and UI, should be on top of its, not wireframe, on its aspect, you know, of its page of the, of its screen of the flow. This is what I'm thinking. So it's not only a UI thing only or a UX thing only, because even if UI and UX cooperate great, they still need something concept-wise to be able to be delivered from the development team. But before all that, they should have a clear focus on what is the concept that they need to have delivered. Because if the business needs does not state what the concept should be, then the design does not have a problem to solve. So it would not have a problem to solve, we do not have a concept, a context. So if we do not have a context, every design that we produce would be irrelevant. So an irrelevant design, it's not a good design. These are my thoughts.
So one last question. Put it on the chat. Who will
By
be
the
the first
way,
one?
quickly, as part of my, oh, Billy, that's what you think. As part of my streaming universe, every Tuesday I do office hours, Ask Me Anything. So you're always welcome to bomb my live stream, which goes out live to LinkedIn and YouTube at the same time. So if you subscribe on YouTube, you'll know I'm up there. And I just take questions for an hour. I do speak English, so if you send Greek in the chat, I'm going to have to put it into Google Translate and hope for the best. But I get questions from around the world, and I sit there for an hour and answer them, and then it's all archived on YouTube in case people want to watch it later. So I answer. I actually had some random person come in the other week and ask me why the word fridge has a letter D when the word refrigerator does not. Now, generally,
Wow.
I'm answering CX and UX questions and helping people solve their problems at their jobs, but I came up with an answer for that person, and they were like, "Oh shit." So, so there you go. So I like Billy says, "Design thinker lives matter." Oh man, that's I'm just gonna go with too soon. I'm just gonna go with not. Let's focus on design thinkers. They're doing better than everybody right now. They're doing better than we are. I've got a fun slide in my deck that in January, Fortune magazine published an editorial article called "Design Thinking Can Solve the Coronavirus." Now, this was in January. So I wrote a Medium article called Design Thinking Jumps Shark, Claims It Can Solve Coronavirus. I assume the phrase jumps the shark didn't make it there because it's very American. It's from, did you get our terrible American TV show Happy Days? Okay, thank God. It was terrible. Okay, well, the show ran out of ideas at one point, and they had the cool guy who wears the leather jacket water ski over a shark. And so it became an American phrase when something like really kind of runs out of ideas and is grasping at ideas. So we say it jumped the shark, which again is very American. So yeah, this guy wrote this article saying, well, design thinking could solve the coronavirus because the government of China just needs to be more empathetic and ideate more. And obviously I had a hand motion for that, which I shouldn't make in public if we're recording this, but let's just say it's completely inappropriate. And so I wrote an article on Medium, and I said, we shouldn't show up to other people's specialties and say, just do design thinking. Because I saw General Assembly do that too. They had posted on LinkedIn how engineers can refactor their code using design thinking. Is anybody here also a dev, like does coding? Do you need design thinking to refactor your code? And they were like, step 1, empathize with the people using your shitty code. Step 2, understand your shitty code. I mean, I'm throwing in Konstantinos' favorite word, but I was like, how did they not get punched in the face for that? So my thought was like, hey, it's June. Where's all the design thinkers fixing the coronavirus? Congratulations, Susan, on your design thinking certificate. Can you please fix coronavirus and also places in Africa that don't have clean water? Get on it, design thinkers. So my thought is design thinking is really starting to, I think, it's going to crumble because it's now everybody thinks they're doing it and everybody's getting a certificate in it. So I can't fix that, but I'm lighting matches under it every chance I get. I'm doing a whole half-hour presentation next week on why it stinks.
So I think we can close with that.
End scene.
Let's see. One last thing for the end. Let me have it open. So thanks to our sponsor, SA Athens, for providing us with the Zoom account and supporting us all the way. And thank you for coming to our first meetup. It's really important if you give us feedback how we are doing, any ideas for the next meetups, speakers, sponsors, volunteers, anything that you have in your mind. Give us an email, or you can find us everywhere on social media.
How we can improve.
How we can improve and how we can implement design thinking to our meetup.
Yeah, could you please do that at your next meetup? And
have a nice night. Or go to the podcast of Debbie's.
I'll be live in an hour.
A discussion with podcast.
What?
Yeah. Let's go all to her.
Come on over. I don't know if you'll be interested in tonight's episode. I'm interviewing an expert in learning design and instructional design to learn what that is, why it's different from what we do, and how we can partner with those people to make things better. So that may or may not interest you, but you're welcome to go through the YouTube archives of the past podcasts and turn it into a drinking game every time I say design thinking. No.
Your podcast really rocks, and I mean rocks real metal type.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm operatic metal. I'm not really hard metal. I'm opera metal.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for being here.